Hello everyone, welcome to the first session of Computer Networks. Myself Dr. Kumud Professor and Head of Department of CSE and IT, presents the first lecture of Computer Networks. Computer Networks. When we talk about this subject, the first thing comes to mind is why do we require to study this subject? Networking being one of the most important part of computer science department. That means a student who is following CSE or any allied branches, or even a student is of electronics and communication department, he needs to understand computer network. So when we understand computer network, the first thing that comes to mind is that where all it is applicable. If I am studying computer networks, so what are the applications where computer network can be used? So first thing we understand is, in a layman concept, if we understand, then first is education. We talk about education. It is all a game of network only, where you come to a campus, study, go through multiple subjects, understand the subject. So that is all you are getting information imparted from a faculty to a student, from a student to a student, from books. So you are getting multiple things combined together, and then you are understanding the concept. We come to resource sharing. You have seen that we are communicated to multiple devices. We are connecting multiple devices together, and there is only a printer installed between among the multiple computer setup. We get the prints. Even you are using a common network connection through internet also. So what is all this? This is network only, where I am applying network to use the resources that is available. Then we come to security and policy. Nowadays everything is getting digitized. You are working on net banking, you are accessing data through remote locations, you are accessing devices which are not existing in front of you. You require security, and network plays a vital role for studying that security and privacy. Nowadays an emerging branch is a cyber security. So a student has to get an insight about networking, then only he can understand security and privacy. If we talk about communication, communication is completely dependent on network only. If you know that how to connect, how to transfer data, then only you will be able to communicate. So that means we want to say that application of computer network is for communication. If you want to communicate, then you want to have a concept clear about the networking. Access to remote information. As we can see, it is very easy for a person sitting in India to transmit or transfer their information, the raw data, or you can say any sort of communication to a person sitting in US, Germany, or anywhere in the globe. How it is possible? This is all possible because of the communication that is being developed by computer networks. Then we talk about person to person communication. We have multiple devices that are available in market by which we can communicate. If we talk about some of the devices we all are aware about, that is about the mobiles we all are accessing. We are accessing our computers to transfer the data, and similarly we have multiple devices to transmit small signals, to transmit our messages. So all these things is possible through the computer networks only. Then we talk about entertainment. Entertainment, nowadays people are very much aware about OTTs. They are having access to multiple cable connections. They are having TV installed in their house which are connected to cable. So that is all because of the computer network. We are using FMs, we are using our internet. Spotify is one of the common thing that everyone is using. How we are able to access this? Applications are there, but they all are interconnected through certain frequency, and that is being maintained by the computer network. Then we talk about information sharing. So if you want to have any information being shared with your peer, with any student, with any person in the world, then you require computer networks. Then taking it to another concept, this is something that day-to-day life we are using, everyone around the globe is using, and we are accessing network. But if we talk about something related to technology, we say nowadays people are more aligned toward cloud-based application. Cloud-based application means you are residing your data somewhere on cloud, somewhere at a storage place, and you are accessing that data. How this is all possible? This is all possible because of the computer network. Then we say now as AI is emerging and everything is based on AI only, whether you talk about the office you are working, or whether you talk about the education sector, whether you talk about automotive, whatever you talk about, there people are using AI and expert system. So how is it possible that I can analyze some data in my system or at my location by not having access to some other location. So that means it is also dependent on computer network. So that means if you want to have something in emerging technologies, something in the latest upcoming technology, you have to be aware about computer networks. Then we talk about neural networks and parallel programming. That means you are applying neural networks nowadays. Many of the system is dependent on neural networks. So everywhere you require a concept of computer network. Similarly, the decision support and office automation system, everywhere networking is required to have a better system working in the environment. Then we talk about the financial services, then we talk about the electronic commerce. That means the e-commerce, we all are using Flipkart, Amazon, Alibaba. All this is dependent on computer networks only. So the overall gist of understanding this is that networking plays a vital role in understanding nowadays application. This is all dependent on computer networks. So just to have a brief introduction before going on to computer networks, we should understand what basically I mean to say, because I'll be using this term again and again in my sessions. So before using this term, I want you all to understand that basically what I mean to say by networking. We say when there are group of devices which are connected to each other, they are transmitting their data through various means of wires, cables connected one to another to transmit data. That is known as a computer network. So that means if I am connecting multiple computers together in a group, network is a group where 2 computers, 3 computers, multiple computers are connected together. So this group of computers when are connected together and they are transmitting certain information through certain media. Medium can be your wires, your cables, etc. When you are communicating your data, that is known as computer network. So these devices which are connected or which are forming a group, these devices can be anything. It can be a computer, printer, scanner, fax, machines, or it can be mobile. Any device which is connected into this group to transfer your data from one to another location, that is connected, that will form a network. Then we talk about what is the purpose of having this network. I say my computer is here and it is connected to this system, this TV. But what basically it is doing? My data is being transmitted from my computer to this device. That means when I am transmitting certain information from one device to another device, then only the purpose of computer network is satisfied. That means if I want to send my data from one device to another device over a network, that means over a group of devices, and it is for a purpose. Purpose means I have certain information that is to be transmitted. Then only I can say that I am forming a computer network. So basically from this slide what all just we have come to understand is I have to be very clear about the network, what is network. Then I have to be very clear about the devices that I am going to use in my network. And third thing, the most purpose of this network is your information. So when you say that understanding a network means I need to understand the devices being used in a network, the information that needs to be transmitted in a network, and how this network is formed. That means the number of connectivity that is being developed by some medium. It can be a wire, cable, or it can be a wireless communication also. Then I can say that networking is complete. So I'll be using this term again and again in the slides to come. Then the first topic of today's session is about communication. We are clear this topic is going to give me an insight about communication and related to networking. So we have understood the basic term. Basic terms we said, one is my network, that means a group. Group of what? Devices. Devices can be computer, any other fax machine, mobiles, anything which is transmitting. And third thing important is my information. When I have all these things together, then only I can communicate. That means I am doing a communication. So let's move on to another and understand the topic, that is communication. So when I talk about communication, why? Basically the first question that should come to your mind is that why do I require a network? What is the use of having a network? So first thing comes to my mind is that when I want to communicate, that means I have certain information that is to be transmitted. Then only I can say that I need to communicate. Suppose I come in a class, I stand there and I don't have anything to teach. I am taking this session and I don't have my content to be delivered. I don't have any topic to be delivered. So what I am going to communicate to you all? I'll stand in front of camera. That means I am connected. I am connected to each and everyone who is watching this video. But I am not connected. I am not transmitting anything useful to any person. So that is what information is required whenever I'll talk about the communication. So we say that whenever I want to communicate, that means I should have certain purposeful information with me which I want to share with the students, with the people, with anyone around the world. Now when I come to information, the first thing comes to my mind is I am talking about computer, because our topic is computer networks. So when I talk about this, the second thing comes to my mind is information is clear, but what type of information I am going to transmit? Whether that information will be of certain type, certain value, or what I am going to transmit. I can have any sort of information. I can simply say, hi everyone. That is also information because I am transmitting certain to someone else. So when we say, when I am going to transfer, so what this information is nothing but this is the data that I want to get transmitted from one location to another location. For example, just now I said, hi everyone. So that means this hi everyone is what it will be considered in my network. This will be considered as data in my network. So when I say I have combined two things together, I said for communication I require information, and this information is what? This is referring the data that I want to transmit. When these two things come together, that means the data which can be transmitted through computer and the communication or a group of computer which are combined together on which I want to transmit data. When these two things come together, we say this is known as data communication. What is data communication? Exchange of data between two devices by some transmission medium. This is known as data communication. So concept is combine those two things together. One is data, the information that I want to transmit, and the communication that I develop to transmit that information. That is known as data communication. So the simple definition of data communication is exchange of data between two devices by some transmission medium. That is known as data communication. Now when I am transferring my data, it has to be effective. If I am delivering a lecture, it is not effective, no one is going to listen to your lecture. No one is going to come to you for further information. So how can we make that data communication to be effective? As a person, if I speak something, I follow certain features to be incorporated to make it effective. Similarly, when I am transmitting my data communication, then to make it effective, I require certain features. What are those features? First is delivery. What do you mean by delivery? Delivery means sending your data to a right location. That is related to delivery. So if I talk about right location, delivering my data to right location, that is telling me the effectiveness of communication. Suppose if I say I want to send my data, suppose I have a network of computer, that is A, B, C, D and E. A wants to transmit data to C, and it is a confidential data to be transmitted to C. But by chance this data gets delivered by mistake, delivers to B. What will happen? Will be my communication effective? No, my communication will not be effective because it is not being delivered to the right location. So location plays a vital role, that your data has to be delivered at the right location. Else it will come to a chaos that we will not be able to identify where our data is moving in a computer network. So delivery is important part. Second is accuracy. What is accuracy? Accuracy is sending the correct data. So we said right location is delivery, right or the correct data, delivering the right data or the correct data, that is accuracy. The accurate data should be reached to the destined location. Suppose if I say my data is reaching C location correctly, I wanted to send my data from A to C, the data has reached on time, that means at the right location it has reached, delivered at the right location. But if my data is not sent in the right manner, or I can say it is not accurate data, then what does that mean? What does that mean? If it is not delivered at the right location, accurate data, it will also not have effective communication. Suppose if I say I have mailed to my friend through Gmail, I have dropped a file to my friend about my username and password of a certain bank account. When I was passing on my information, the data that was sent from A to C, the data received by C, there was some noise, there can be some sort of disruption in the cable or anything, it can happen. The data delivered to C was not correct. By mistake, I said my ID is kumud.saxena@niet.co.in. I give you my ID and say please deliver your content to my ID. But by mistake, when I was sending the data, in between, say if I can't, we haven't studied transmission medium, so I'll take a general example. Suppose I say kumud.saxena, instead of this, by mistake, I forgot to write dot in between. I said it is kumudsaxena@nit.co.in. What will happen? You will keep on sending the data to kumudsaxena@nit.co.in, but I will not be receiving any data. And I will complain, I haven't received your data, I haven't received your data. What was the mistake? Mistake was I have given you the inaccurate data. That means I have given you the wrong data. That's why the data was delivered in a wrong manner. So this is something very important when we talk about computer communication. Third is timeliness. Timeliness is, it is into our day-to-day life also. If we require something at a certain point of time and we don't get that, so the value of that thing decreases. Similarly, on a computer network, when I am transmitting my data and my data is not delivered on time, what will happen? It will lose its effectiveness, the value of that data will be decreased. So that is also more important, that timeliness is receiving or delivering the data at right time. This is also important. Then last we come to is jitter. This is something I think a new term, but the people who are more into listening music, who are more into watching videos, they'll understand what jitter is. You must have noticed when we see certain movies which are not directly given on the OTT available, they are on YouTube or a false fake videos being created. There is a lag in between the video and the audio that is being displayed. Even you can see when you are hearing something, some audios which are not developed properly, they have some overlap or there may be some gaps between two pieces of music. That is the jitter. Jitter means the gap that we are having in the transmission time of certain data. Suppose the data reached to me and there is certain gap in receiving the data, then this gap occurs. This is known as jitter, which decreases the quality of audio and video signal that we are receiving. So this is what communication is dependent on, all these 4 points, which makes the communication more effective if we follow these 4 points. We have understood communication, we understood data, we understood about the data communication, and we understood about the effectiveness of data communication. So we can now come up to the overview of computer network. Now we can say what is computer network. So the concept that we drew from the first slide, a computer network is an interconnection of 2 or more devices which are able to exchange information. Then we say it will form a computer network. What do we understand by network? Network is a set of devices which are connecting the multiple devices together by a communication link. Now when we talk about this communication link, what do we understand by communication link? Link means it can be a wired link or it can be a wireless link. That means wired means we will be having certain cables by which 2 devices are connected to each other, or there can be another way, that can be the wireless. Wireless means there are no wire being laid out, but we are still able to connect to another devices. If we take example of wired, wired means nowadays we are having our cable connections where a cable is coming to our houses or home and connected to our devices, or it can be your system, it can be your TVs where it has been installed. When we talk about wireless, so each and every one of us are using, everyone is carrying a mobile in their hand. What is that? That is all wireless communication we all are talking about. So we say when there is a communication signal through wired and wireless, we require certain sort of links to be developed to transmit our data. So in our upcoming sessions, we'll be understanding multiple transmission medium, and then at that time, we'll be making the concept of communication link more clear. The computer network may be located anywhere in the world and it can vary to any size. That means I can have multiple computers being connected in a network. If we talk about internet, what is internet? Internet is nothing but it is an internetwork of network. That means there can be multiple groups all over the world which are formed, and these groups are again connected to each other, or maybe these are connected to this and this is connected to this whole combined together, and this gives me a network of network that is known as internet. So that is how the internet concept evolved, by this network only. When I am connecting multiple network together, that means group of computers, again a group of computers, these group of computers combining together to form a link between among them. This is known as your internet. Generally it follows a client server model. I think this concept will not be very much clear at this moment, but as we proceed further, the things will become more clear. Now when I have talked about computer network communication, if I want to communicate to you, I require something. I am delivering this lecture, that means I am here to send something. You are listening to this video, that means you are there to receive something. We both can communicate, but we need certain medium to communicate. So this is becoming a medium to communicate. Then when I want to communicate, I should have certain information or some data that I should transmit. I can't stand in front of camera, you sit in front of your devices and we keep on seeing each other. This is not communication. Communication requires information. So this is what my information is. I am having a content of networking. I am the sender, you are the receiver. We have a channel developed between us. You can have wireless connection, you can have wired connection, and this video is becoming our mode by which we are transmitting the data. So that means if I want to communicate, I require these 5 things. First is my message. Message is what I want to deliver. That means if I take this example, in this scenario, my slide is the message that I want to communicate. Sender, a person who sends the data. I am sending my data, so that means I am the sender. Similarly, if we are talking about 2 devices, so one device will behave as a sender. For example, we can say A is me and B is you. So that means I have a message. Message is my computer network session that I want to transmit. So I am sending, I am the sender. You are receiving, you are the receiver. This is my message. So we are clear with these 3 points. Then I require a transmission medium. Medium means by which I can transmit my message. So how I can transmit my message? I require certain physical path by which I can transmit. It can be any way. It can be a wired communication or it can be a wireless communication. So I require a transmission medium by which I want to transmit my data. The last is protocol. What is protocol? Protocol says a set of rules which governs to transmit the data or which governs to transmit your information from one device to another device. Suppose if we talk about mobiles, I call someone, I call you and I start speaking, hello, how are you listening to me? And from the other side also the second person also starts speaking at the same time, hello, how are you? What will happen? I'll not be able to hear or understand what the other person is saying. Similarly, the second person will not be able to understand what I want to communicate. So what is that? That will create a problem where I am not able to communicate, he is also not able to communicate. Same is the scenario in a class. When a teacher moves in class, there are certain protocols to be followed. Like if I say when a teacher is speaking, no one is allowed to speak anything. What do I mean to say by this? Because I have drawn that protocol, I have devised that certain rules, I've devised that certain rules that when I speak, you are not supposed to speak. That is my rules in class. So that whatever information I want to communicate, my students should easily understand. But if somehow someone is not able to understand, so what will I expect? I'll expect that person should raise his hand and say, ma'am, I have a query. Can I put up my query? I'll say, yes, you can stand and ask your query. So what is that? That is a set of rules I have implemented into my class so that a proper decorum is maintained. Similarly, when I am transmitting my data from one location to another location, there are certain rules to be followed so that the communication is being developed in an effective manner. So there are certain protocols that every device has to follow, that is given by certain bodies which gives the rule, and by that rules what we are doing, we are making our communication more effective. So if we talk about computer networks, your whole computer network is dependent on these 5 criteria, where we identify our message, we identify how we are going to send the message, in which format we are going to send the message, and when we are going to send the message. That is being defined by the message. We are going to identify the senders, that is you must be hearing about these terms, IP address, the location, the routers. This is all being maintained by understanding the sender and receiver in a network, that who is going to send and who is going to receive the message. Similarly, we have transmission medium, the multiple cables, wires, wireless communication. Nowadays people are talking about 5G, 6G. Why we are talking about all this thing? Because we require certain medium by which we can transmit our data. We have already utilized multiple frequencies in wireless communication to transmit data. Now we require more to transmit. Why? Because there is lot of data that needs to be transmitted throughout the globe, because people have started realizing that we can send our data, important communication can be done through this medium. So that is why the people have started evolving and working on to wireless computers, wireless communication. So that is what transmission medium is focusing on. Protocols to maintain a decorum in all these type of scenarios where I am transmitting my data from one location to another, not to create chaos, not to make people breach the security. For all that purpose, we have designed certain protocols so that my data can be transmitted in an effective and good manner. Now, when I transmit my data, then how my data is going to be transmitted? My system, my computer doesn't understand, hey computer, how are you? Hey computer, send my data. I can transmit my data in this way. Then how my computer is going to understand to transmit the data? When we talk about mediums, when we talk about the wired and wireless medium to communicate my data, I say my computer will only understand the signals. What are these signals? Signals are, if we talk about any electronic device, a device will understand only 2 conditions, that is on or off. That means a button can be on or button can be off. That's why we say, whenever we talk about computers, we say a computer understands binary language only. Why binary language? Because your computer is firstly an electronic device which gets the information in the form of signals, and signals can be identified by only 2 conditions, that is on or off. That means whether the electric current will flow or the electric current will not flow. So that means on and off is given by 1 and 0. That's why we say, whenever we talk about computers, we say my computer understands only 2 language, that is 1 or 0, whether the current will flow or whether the current will not flow. So that is why when we talk about computers, we say the data is transmitted in 2 types of signal. One is analog signal, another one is digital signal. Now again the question comes to mind that we are talking about signals, you are talking about 0 and 1, then how come this analog and digital comes? Analog means the signal which is in continuous form, and the digital signal is a signal which comes in discrete form. That means which can be identified by certain values, numeric values which identify this. For example, we all wear watches. So there are watches which are based on a dial. You must have seen a dial where the continuous motion of a hand is seen and we identify what the time is. Similarly, at the same time, people wear a digital watch where the number is displayed on a screen. This is a digital watch, this is an analog watch. So what is the difference? Analog watch gives me continuous signal to understand the data being communicated. While in digital, I don't get continuous data, I get discrete values. It can be 1, it can be 2, 3 and so on. So this is the two type of signals that can be seen. Where we see these type of signals? The analog signals we can say we see in telephones and radios, which is based on certain frequency, and we are getting a continuous signals from these devices. But when we talk about computers, computer understand the current that is being flowed, and it gives me the discrete value that can be 0 or 1 given to the computer. So this is how basically this forms the base of computer network communication. So one has to be very clear with this concept, and the whole networking will be surrounded around this only, that how this part is being maintained in a network. Now, as we have talked about data communication, we talked about the communication, a networking device, we have talked about the computer networks. Now we come about data representation. Already we have understood that data is being transmitted in two forms, analog signals and digital signals. So my data is of varied type. Now this is a query from my side. Maybe some of you who are curious to know that you are talking about signals, but in actual world data doesn't exist in signal form. How the data is existing in actual world? Data is existing in the form of text, numbers, images, audio and video format. This is the form in which the real world data is existing. How this real world data my computer can process? My computer doesn't understand text. If you write on your screen A, B, C, computer doesn't understand what is alphabet. If you write 1, 2, 3, computer doesn't understand that. If you draw an image, beautiful images are being drawn on your devices, but your computer doesn't understand these images also. We talk about audio, we talk about video, but a computer doesn't understand them. Then how my computer is going to understand? My computer, the text is being transmitted in a way which computer can understand. It is in the form of bit pattern, sequence of bit, or multiple codes being applied. You must have heard about the code ASCII. What is this? American Standard Code for Information Interchange, where I am converting my text into a format which is understandable by the computer. But actually this all processing is being done by computer, but after all this process, my computer will only understand stream of bits, that is the sequence of zeros and 1 to an extent. That is what my computer will understand. So how it is being processed into 0 and 1? Text is converted into bit pattern, sequence of bits, or it can be any code being applied. Number system, numbers are converted into number system, maybe a binary form, a hexadecimal form, which your computer will understand. Images are represented in the form of matrix of pixels. What do I mean by matrix of pixels? A whole computer screen is divided into a matrix of pixels. That means if I want to draw, suppose I want to draw a line, here, this whole pixel will be colored, that means filled with certain color, and this will give me a picture. This is how a picture is drawn on a screen of a computer. Now when this pixel is filled up, this matrix is developed in this format where values are kept here, and it gives me that which color is being pasted, which color is being filled. Based on that my images are drawn, and this value is converted again into stream of zeros and 1 which my computer can understand. Then we talk about audio. Audio is given into a form of signals. It can be continuous signal or anything. Signals which is again converted into the form of 0 and 1. Your videos are also in the form of continuous signals, or it can be combination of images also, which is derived from the matrix combined with signals, which gives me the form of videos. But after this whole processing, your computer converts all this type of data into the form or a sequence of 0 and 1. Then only my computer is able to understand that information. So this whole task seems very tedious, that how my actual data is converted into a data that a computer can process into a sequence of 0 and 1 to make it useful for the computer to interpret and understand what actually your data is representing. So that is how my networking basics starts with. So one has to be clear with the communication, the data, the network, what all network comprises of, the data and how the data is represented in a network. When this all is combined, then only we can move further and understand the next part of the computer network. Hope to see you soon in the second session. Thank you everyone.